So today we're talking about telling the truth or being honest with ourselves and with our children and the repercussions of lying. The lies you tell or secrets you keep don't end up helping anyone. It disconnects you from the people you love the most, your kids. So there's a meme that says, my parents accused me of lying today. I looked at them and said, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny and Santa Claus, and walked away like a boss. Obviously that meme was created to make you laugh, but there's truth to it. So children are lied to by the people who love them the most from when they're little babies. So what's that teaching them or showing them? Let's chat about it. Nin, who is a mother of two, reached out to me after reading my newsletter about lying. Well, actually, it was about how do we create a world of truth and transparency. And Nin has a really interesting take on this concept, especially growing up in the Eastern culture. So Nin, welcome. How are you?
Well, I was about to say fine because I'm conditioned to answer that. But as you know, I am living with a chronic illness, and the very definition of chronic is that it goes on and on and on. So I'm not fine, but we say we're fine just to make it less awkward.
What would you say if you're being completely honest to the how are you question? What would you say?
I would say I've been dizzy for 3 years and I'm dizzy today. But then what would the recipient say, you know?
A little bit of what's causing the dizziness?
Okay, so my health story is a bit of a strange and unique one in that I was healthy one day and then the very next I was very, very ill. To cut a long story short, I had a virus go to my inner ear and it killed off my hearing and balance instantly. So I'm deaf in my left ear and I can't balance. I have vestibular issues that's ongoing 24/7.
You're on this completely different path now with your health.
I am. I used to work as an executive, 60-hour weeks. I hardly saw my children. And to be honest, I think that contributed a lot to a lowering of immune system. And I was befallen by a common cold because of the stressful lifestyle that I was taught to lead. Yeah. Um, Speaking of answering fine to these questions, I have a different take to it in that I'm Thai Chinese, and sometimes I think the questions that we get asked forces us to lie, like how are you? In my culture, Thai and Chinese, we don't ask people how are you when we meet them. We say, where have you been? If you're Thai, and if you're Chinese, we say, have you eaten? And
Is that the first thing they say when they see you? When people
yes.
why
And
why is it where have you been? Why is that important? Like why is that do you know? I suppose I don't know why our question is how are you, but what's that about?
because it's important, the coming and goings of a person is important. Even in Balinese culture, it's also where have you been and where are you going to. So what the person has done and what the person is going to do is very important. And in Chinese culture, have you eaten? It's because in Asian culture, we show love through acts of service, not so much hugs and kisses and I love yous, but acts of service.
Mm-mm.
And part of that is if you haven't eaten, they'd be happy to feed you. You're Italian, it's like that. We're feeders. Yeah, so that's the basis of these questions. Just to know what you've been doing with yourself and can I feed you?
Have you fallen into now that you live here? What do you revert back to when you do?
I say, how are you to people that speak English, but obviously to my family, I still say, have you eaten and where have you been? Because it doesn't force a lie. It's a very easy question to answer. Unless you've gone to rob a bank, it's quite easy to tell the truth, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, unless you don't want to tell the person where you've been.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
What happens then? Because do you find that this Western culture lies more than the Eastern culture?
Of course, but I don't think it's from a negative place. I think it's more from a polite formality to grease
Okay.
the social wheels. It's more mature like that. Whereas in the Asian culture, it's a practical culture where you say what you observe and that's it. It doesn't go much deeper than that. So there gets to a stage, even for me, and I've lived here my whole life, right? But I kind of straddle two cultures. So even for me, there comes a stage where I think, where's the line? Where is the line between polite formality and dishonesty? When do we cross that line?
Mhm. Because we're so habitual that we
Yeah,
just repeat things, and that I think lies just roll off our tongue sometimes.
yeah.
So, do I really mean that? Am I just saying what I've been programmed to say versus what I should say, what I feel
I,
is.
yeah. I also think that we need to feel the silence as a species. So if
Mhm,
I
mhm.
go to see someone that, say a friend just had a newborn baby and the baby's not quite desirable looking, and then you take one look at their newborn baby that they're all excited about, and you have to feel the silence. You could have just held the baby and said nothing, but you have to say, "Oh, he's adorable," or because saying, "Oh, he has two eyes" would just be weird. So you have to kind of feel that silence. If we didn't have to feel that silence, we probably wouldn't have said anything about
Yeah.
the we would have just held the baby. So it's the questions that we get asked that forces a lie, and also our personal need to fill that void.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm guilty of that as well, filling silences. Like, someone talk. But do my
Yes.
best not to lie. But yeah, you're spot on. Filling those silences and just. But is it? I wonder if there's a connection, because we, like I said at the start, about that we lie from such a young age to kids. So as a child ourselves, we're used to being lied to.
For sure, for sure.
So then we just carry it with us and go, oh, well, it's a white lie, or it's in my newsletter, I talked about what white, grey, and black lies. There's different types of lies, and we just get used to them and justify them in some way.
So my son, he's 7 and he's started losing his teeth now, and I wanted to give him money, saying it's from the tooth fairy. And the first time I went in to put the money underneath it, my heart was pounding. Like I was going, "Oh my God, what if he wakes up?" So this lie has caused me a lot of angst. And he did wake up, not on his first tooth, but several teeth later. And he did say, "Mum, you're the tooth fairy. I know, I saw you. I saw you last night." And I was hoping he was groggy and kind of fell asleep and woke up the next day. And maybe it was all a dream that mum had wings. But no, I don't know why, but I lied to him at breakfast. I said, "No, it wasn't me, darling. You were asleep and you were groggy, and it wasn't me at all." And he
So
was.
why do we do that? Why do we keep lying then? We're in the lie. He knows it's not true. What do you think that's about, that we just keep the lie going?
I think it's because we have invested so much effort into it that we want to see it succeed. Or the
Everyone's invested a lot of
counting,
effort into the whole palaver of those mythical.
or the letters that I've written over the first few teeth that he's lost. And I just wanted to keep the charade going because of maybe, kind of like you made a bad investment and you kind of chasing it. That's
Like wanting to know to get out of the investment, and we're knowing to just to
yeah,
stay.
yeah. And with kids, right? It's not just about fairy tales and that we lie to them about for no reason. Sometimes we lie to them for their own protection, for their own safety, for example. We don't have a lot of time when they act unsafe. So I was thinking about my son who loves to climb trees and do all these unsafe activities. I'd say, stop, get down, or you're going to fall and break your neck, or you're going to fall and die, or something. And he won't, because he's enjoying himself and he does it anyway, and he doesn't die. He doesn't break his neck. He comes down safely, and he looked at me square in the eye once and went, "You lied, Mum. I didn't
I
die from
know.
climbing a tree." And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to sit here explaining to you about probabilities and risk taking, and 1 in 100 times you're going to fall, and that would happen. Like, we basically just state the simple fact, well, not
But
so
is there
much.
a way to do it without lying though? How could we phrase it that so we're not lying?
To be honest, it would be as simple as adding the word could. So why don't we do that? Don't maybe it doesn't have as much impact, you see, because we want to change someone's behavior. But adding the word could is not so dramatic, and he would still climb the tree anyway.
And then you can look at, well, words have power. And if we're telling them what we think's going to happen, we sometimes make that true, because then they take it on. Well, I could hurt myself, and all that confidence and that freedom that kids have, which is really, they don't hurt themselves that often. Like, considering what they do,
Yeah, that's right. That's
they
right.
don't. So it's like that, us telling them what could happen or may happen is sometimes making that true, because our words do have power. So if they take those words on and they make them their own, then they could hurt themselves. And is that what's hurting them versus really what they're
I
doing?
think I think I've observed my son climbing since he was young, and he wasn't reckless at all. As in, he would start with the smaller steps, lower to the ground, and as he built his skills, he's now way up a tree. But I think it's more me that's worried than he is. He's
Yeah.
pretty assured of his skills. Like, I heard a good saying the other day about why birds that sits on branches aren't afraid of the twigs breaking. It's because they are confident in their own wings. So I probably have to let go a little bit about the twig breaking and concentrate more on the abilities of his wings.
Yeah. So that's what they're meant to be doing, isn't it? They're these little beautiful balls of energy.
Yeah.
And they've got all these things they want to go and try, and that's what they're doing at these ages when they're little. They're just trying everything and seeing what works, what doesn't. They're like us as well. We don't necessarily learn from when someone tells us something, like, don't go for that job, it's not good for you, or don't go out with that guy, you should break up with him. And like,
No one
nah, he's
ever listens
fine.
to
And
that.
then you wait till it's, horrendous. So people learn best through experience. So they're the ultimate experiences.
Yeah, and then we stop them from doing all these physical activities, and then they're just stuck in the house, sitting still. And you wonder why they have issues concentrating in school and in life, really, because they haven't moved enough, I feel.
And they're trying to, but they're not allowed.
Yes, because it's unsafe and they'll fall and break their necks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that your son pulled you up on that though. And because I think that's really cool that kids know when they're being lied to, whether they consciously say something like your son did and said, it didn't happen, mum.
But we do it all the time. As mums, we're like, that's too much sugar. If you eat any more sugar, you're going to feel sick. And they don't feel sick. They never do, from a little bit too much sugar. Well, not that day. It might accumulate. See, this is another thing. You don't have time to sit there and explain to the kids what you do daily will, impact you 10 years from now. They don't think long term like that. They haven't even been alive for 10 years. So yeah, that's probably why we lie, just to get the dramatic effect across and to get the behavioral change instated immediately.
And I wonder why that is as well. Why are we so short on time, and why are we trying to be so dramatic?
Yes.
Like, is that, a society thing or a cultural thing where everyone's so in the rat race. There's
Yeah.
not time to just have conversations that are calm and loving and just
So
about the bigger picture.
basically what you said was spot on, because when I stopped working at a very hectic rate and I became at home just to get better, rehabilitate, I couldn't stop, Bonita. I kept washing the dishes at rates. I was like, I just trying to get everything done, even then though there were no pressing schedule, or I felt like there was something behind me that kept me moving really fast, even in a home environment. And 3 years later, I'm getting better, but I'm still a bit addicted to productivity.
Yeah. Well, it's an unlearning of, we do this for so many decades, and then it's like, how do I not be like that? It's a massive untraining. I did the same when I left my corporate job years ago. Took me some learning to just be.
I think society places a lot of value on productivity, and it's easily translatable to salary. That's the problem as well. So it's because salary is a number, it's easily quantifiable and comparable. So you can kind of just look at a number and assess your worth in terms of productivity. And
Yeah.
because of that, yeah,
We've
it's
been
hard.
trained to believe that that's how we
That's self.
value things.
Yeah,
Yeah. Versus I was at home looking after my children or getting dinner ready or creating a space when people do come in, it feels calm and loving. Like that's priceless. There's no, you can't put money on that. And, cooking home cooked meals and
exactly.
it's
And children
unfortunate.
that feel loved because I now see them more than an hour a day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And but you're spot on that we have been trained, programmed to believe that our worth is in comparative to a value system of numbers.
And productivity, yeah, that's
Yeah.
translatable to salary. And it's still hard, Bonita. I'm still unlearning. It's not something you unlearn overnight. It's a process.
It's a process. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Which is even the lying, like even this lying that we habitually do, like even when your son wakes up and goes, I saw your mom, it's like, no, it's a process of
Yeah.
breathing, stopping. I know when I've gone through my process of, and I'm not perfect, obviously, but I really try my best never to lie. And of watching myself when I go to lie. And it's usually it's not a big thing. It's the habitual stuff. Like I was in a cafe and I was looking through the menu. I didn't have anything I wanted. And they're like, so you're going to get something? I'm like, no, I've got to go pick up my husband from somewhere. And I was like,
I don't want to eat anything here.
it's just like, no, thank you. I could just say no, thank you. I don't need to explain myself. But and I watch myself doing it. It's like I hover above myself. I'm like, what are you doing?
So
So,
my youngest daughter, she's 5, and she's, I don't know, I think she's a natural born liar. She's just gravitated towards lying. I'd have sweets out and the whole packet would be gone, and I'd start investigating who ate it, and she can look me straight in the eye and go, it wasn't me, mum. And even though we've seen her do it, but she can just lie like that. And I sat her down one day and I told her a story. I said to her, when you were born, you and me had the same story. There was nothing you knew that I didn't, and vice versa. Our stories are aligned. But every time you lie, it splits our story. And you and mummy and you don't have the same story anymore because we know different things. I think my daughter didn't eat it and she doesn't need to brush her teeth, but you know something else. So our story split. And then she started crying and said, can we merge our stories again, mum? Because, because once you keep lying, your stories keep splitting and you're traveling a different path, So I said,
go.
yeah. So I said to her, if you want to keep traveling on the same path as mummy, our stories have to match. And she understood from there that she didn't want to lie anymore.
But what's the responsibility of the parent then not to lie anymore as well?
Yeah. I have to hold myself accountable too. Yes.
Because it's like, where did the lying come from? It had to come from somewhere. And that's what my great thing about having these conversations is the children learnt it from somewhere. Generally,
Yeah.
they learn it from the people around them.
Yeah. And it's really it validates them when they lie and they don't get caught. There's no repercussions.
Same
So
as adults.
yeah, so then they kind of look at it and go, well, I got away with that easily and I got all my treats I wanted. It's quite easy to do. It's quite easy to do. That's the point, isn't it?
Well, and that's why I keep bringing up the Father Christmas thing. And I know that gets a bit of from people, but I use that as an example because it's those times, because it's from when they're babies. It's just an easy one from when they're children that we lie. And we lie to their face and their eyes as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he comes down the chimney. Yeah, you have to be good. Yeah, like it is, and it's constant. And, most parents use it the whole year round. So
Yes, to threaten
it's an
them.
ongoing lie. Eye contact, So they're learning it from day dot.
How to lie well.
Yes, how to lie well. So when, you know, use your example of your daughter that is like, looks you in the eye and can lie off the bat, it's like, she's like, I've learnt this. I know what goes on.
Yes, I agree. And even the Christmas thing, the lie is inconsistent. So, for example, my son is 8 years old, turning 8 soon. Half of the class still believe in Santa, and the other half doesn't. They have debates about it, Bonita, like raw, angry debates. One
In
is,
classroom.
yeah, one is standing up for Santa. One side is like, don't talk to him like that. And then the other side is like, it's your mum and dad, So parents aren't disclosing the truth at the same time, causing conflicts in class as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't you feel, if we get to the crux of it, the root cause, it's because you're lying in the first place.
Correct.
Like if you weren't lying in the first place, there would be no time to reveal the truth because you wouldn't have lied.
And
Right?
it causes more issues than that in terms
Yeah.
of most households have siblings going from, 10 down to toddler or whatever. And we get angry at the older kids for disclosing the truth to the younger kids about Santa. We're like, oh, okay, well, you're now old to know about Santa, but don't tell your little brothers and sisters. And
Yeah. And so then you're getting them to lie.
yeah. And then you're
Yep.
getting angry at them if they don't lie.
Yeah. And we wonder why we've got a problem with a civilization of liars.
It's a big can of worms that we have opened.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's a good conversation to be having versus, because when I have these conversations, people are just ready to fob it off and be like, oh, you're ruining the joy and the magic. It's like there is magic in life. Why do we need to make
And
up
the
this whole big
capitalism
lie?
system of present buying and
Yeah, of it just being a whole like a marketing industry. That's who makes the money out of all this
ruining all
lie.
that, Benita.
The department stores that keeps the big conglomerates,
Ruining sales for the
thriving,
buyers.
buying presents to keep up with because that kid's got that present, that kid's got that present. Like it's out of control. And this is all based on lies.
Yes, it is out of control. When there's more presence than there's space under the tree, we know that it's gotten out of control. And that happened in the first few years of my children being born. And that's when we kind of put a limit to it now.
Yeah, it's
Because we saw them open one after the other without care. So they open, looked at it, next. And I'm
yeah.
like, what the?
They don't remember, they don't know. They're on a high of all these
Don't care
presents.
who
It
gave
doesn't
it
mean
to them.
anything.
Yeah,
They can't remember who got them anything. Like it's
too much. Yeah.
too much. But and all based on the fact that we need to keep this lie going. It's just
Yeah, because you don't want to be the odd one out. You don't want your child to be the odd one out in class. Yeah, it's just a
yes.
collective consciousness. It's a collective lie.
It's the need to belong. I get that. We have a need to belong, but why would you want to belong in something that is not, I don't know the right word to use here, right, ethical, moral, like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
start your own little tribe where we can all just be what my newsletter was about was truth and transparency.
yeah.
We want to feel like we belong. I understand that. I just don't understand why we need to belong to something that is held together by lies and deceit.
And how do we break that cycle?
Mm.
It's difficult to effect change on a collective mentality if you're just one person. You see what I mean? Even if you don't believe in it, everyone else is still going to carry on with the Father
But what
Christmas.
if I don't get that, and that's always going to be the roadblock, isn't it? But it's what's one person does it, another person does it. That's how change starts. That's how we got here anyway, how we came up with this massive lie, obviously with massive propaganda to push it down our throats. We find people that, in the more conversations I'm having like this, you'll find that, one parent did it and then another parent's like, yeah, I'm sick of this too. And
Yes.
there's two parents with just their kids and it
Yeah.
starts.
And I think sometimes though, it's nothing sinister or badly intended. It's basically just parents wanting to see their children happy. So
Oh yeah, I get that everyone's
at any
most
opportunity, from pushing them down a slide and pushing them on a swing to elaborate Christmas thing with presents on the tree so their eyes would light up. Parents in the end just finding every opportunity to make their kids smile, really.
yeah, I get that. I totally get that. And then at the same time, I don't think they question enough as well. Like, want to make their kids happy, 100%, but how they do that is not questioned. It's just, well, this is just what you do.
There are many ways to make them
There are
happy.
many ways to do it that could be around truth and transparency versus lies and deceit.
Yeah, agree.
That's what I'm saying. And I get that it can't happen overnight, although maybe it could, like, why not? Because when you know better, I'm big on when you know better, do better. It's like, well, I know this information now. Why would I keep lying to my kids when I know it causes disconnection? And that's what I wrote in the newsletter, is that all lies, whatever their origin, wreak similar havoc on our wreak similar kinds of inner havoc. It causes disconnection. The lies, it's all causing, like that story you told your daughter. Every time either of you lie,
we become less close because we're not operating on the same basis of information anymore. We're not operating from the same platform, the same place. We don't have the same understanding, and without the same understanding, how can you have close bonds?
We're not in line with your heart, your soul, your integrity,
your community. You're not in line with everyone else.
You're out of alignment, which is causing that disconnection, which is why I feel it's so important that we have these conversations and find more people that are willing to tell the truth.
I really, really like how you're exploring the difference in race and cultures in terms of lies, because I recently made a friend who's from Israel, and she just flew to Australia with her family this year. And so in trying to establish themselves, they're looking for jobs, and they're going for job interviews, and they're coming back going, "I've got it, Nin. I've got it." After every job interview, they think they've gotten the job, and they haven't, and they get rejected. And now they're very a bit bitter about our social formalities and lying, because they said in Israel, when you go in an interview, you know straight away when you don't have the job. People are looking at you like, you just know when you walk out.
I love it.
Hope.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone makes you feel like they're going to call you. You got the job. It's just, and
they don't want to have an awkward conversation, or they want to hide behind an email.
That's right. They just want to flick across an email later on to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have the job," instead of telling them right there and then at the interview going,
you're not fit.
So they're
being honest.
They're having problems assimilating into this culture of polite formalities.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're calling it. I think that's how we justify lying. Polite formalities, keeping my kids happy, like, we're lying. That's such a good story. I love hearing about the different cultures and how
not every culture does that. So Israel now, Thai, Chinese, there's more there's less social politeness.
Yes. Love. I totally get that, because my whole life I've been told I don't have a filter, and it's like, oh, I'm just being
offensive. Yeah.
Like, as if you said that. I'm like, but why is that bad? I'm just observing and talking about what I'm observing. There's no malice behind it. There's no poor intention. I'm just talking about what I'm observing about.
You're not a hypocrite. You welcome other people's opinions back, and you receive it well. You don't. It's not just a one-way flow of information from you. It's not one-way flow of truth. You're happy to receive it too.
And that's even with this lying thing. I'm happy to talk to parents, and I understand why they're lying, and I understand you want to make your kids happy and things like that. It's like, but can we do it? Can we just find a different way of doing it?
Yeah. And seeing both cultures, I think we need to adopt a long-term view. Does a lie today drastically affect the outcome in the future in a bad way. If we adopt a long-term view, for example, like you said, simple lying to our kids causes them to learn how to lie really well. What if they turn around and lie to us about taking drugs? You know, yeah, I have to kind of take a view of the future on lying, I think, and how bad it could get.
When would you say a lying's ever okay?
When would lying's ever okay? I can't really think of one right now when it's ever okay. I think lying is difficult, meaning it helps you get out of a difficult situation
Yes.
in a way that's not so awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah. And that's one of the techniques I was learning when I was learning not to lie. I reprogram myself not to lie. It's like, why am I lying right now? And most of the time it is to make yourself feel better. Like to avoid an awkward conversation, to make myself feel better about why I'm not going somewhere or doing something.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So it's
Get out of
okay.
an uncomfortable situation. That's the only reason why you would lie.
But that's still not justifiable in my book. Like it's like, okay, let me assess why I'm lying. And then if I'm doing that to make myself feel better, well, why am I shouldn't why I shouldn't put myself in a position where I need to lie. Like if I'm lying about something, I would need to change my actions or behaviors so that I'm fine with telling the truth.
What about that mindset though, Bonita, of picking your battles? Because to live a life of conflict is not ideal either.
But why is it conflict by being honest? Why does honesty have to equal conflict?
Because it takes two to have harmony, and the other person's not ready for honest truth.
That's got nothing to do with me. If I'm ready to be honest, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to lie for the sake of someone else.
Who's not ready?
I get what you're saying, and that's why we keep this. That's why I see us keep lying. It's like, well, if I'm honest, then I'm by myself. And yeah, to be honest, I was by myself.
And it's a hard life of conflict.
Yeah. I feel like being honest causes disconnection for a little bit because people aren't used to it. Like if there's an event on and I don't want to go, I don't go.
I think people
And so
appreciate it in the long term though.
and this is what I've seen over doing this over a long period is at the start they might be like, oh, Bonita's so rude, she's not coming to this event and she's not, doing this and that. And it's like, but I'm just being honest, I don't feel like going. You don't want me there because I don't feel like it. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. And so at the start it was just I felt the vibe wasn't great. And now people are like, know if I'm somewhere that I want to be there.
People trust you more as well, and they know that it's not false flattery.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a process in it, which I've got to remember. So there is a process, and sometimes can be a little bit lonely or disconnecting for a moment while you find your own integrity.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie to make someone else feel better because they're lying.
I think overall you're better for it because you build stronger relationships on a stronger foundation of trust.
Yeah.
And people know that whatever you can say, they can take to the bank. And that's more important than anything else, I think, in forming strong relationships.
And it might not be true and they might not agree, but you're just being as honest as you can be. Doesn't mean you're right. It just means you're being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I'm wrong a lot of the time. I'm just honest.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, like, oh yeah, I was wrong about that, but I wouldn't have found out if I was lying.
Exactly. You can have some robust conversations over topics if you're honest about it. Yeah.
Okay. So one small step of every day we can just start telling the truth more and more and having the courage to tell our kids the truth too. Yeah. A world of truth and transparency is what I'd like to see. I feel that would relieve a lot of the issues that go on in our world if there was truth and transparency.
Yeah, because you can build from a solid foundation. Like you said, you don't know everything, but you wouldn't know what you don't know if you don't open up about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the chat, Nin. That was amazing.
Thank you very much, Bon.